Hello guys, what we will discuss in this recap is the person who has all the skills, so let's get started. Please support my channel for more manhwa recap. Chapter 1, This World Isn't Right. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Donghai was as hot as a furnace in June. The sky was azure blue, and not a cloud was in sight. The scorching sun burned furiously like a massive fireball as it hung high in the sky. Donghai No. 1 High School. 5:30 p.m. Ring, ring, ring. The bell signaling the end of the lesson rang. The entire school campus woke up from its stupor, and noises appeared from everywhere. A few seconds later, waves of students gushed out of the different classroom buildings. They smiled and chatted in their small groups while walking out of the school gates. The weather is so hot today, someone complained angrily. Brother Wang Teng, let's go to Wild Rose Pub for a drink tonight. A voice pulled Wang Teng back to reality. Su Jie. As he looked at the person in front of him, the familiar face and the distant memories surged out from the depth of his mind. This was one of his playmates when he was in senior high. I won't be joining you tonight. I have a headache. You can have fun, said Wang Teng. Su Jie replied hurriedly, hey, don't be like this. There aren't many people in our circle. If you don't come, it will be meaningless. Besides, we haven't gathered in a long while. Why don't we find another day to meet? How about tomorrow or the day after? What do you think? Wang Teng shook his head helplessly. Tomorrow is good. No problem. I will inform Little Wei and the rest that we will be gathering tomorrow instead. Su Jie smiled brightly. When they walked to the school gates, a huge commotion sounded in front of them. Hey, what happened in front? There's a crowd there. Su Jie felt puzzled. Let me take a look. He then ran forward and squeezed through the crowd to get to the front. Wang Teng, on the other hand, just placed his hands in his pockets and walked forward slowly. A few students saw him and voluntarily made way for him, afraid of provoking this guy. As expected, he, young Master Wang, had a powerful reputation. Wang Teng mocked himself silently. Unfortunately, it wasn't a good reputation. He walked out of the crowd and looked at the open space in front. A lady had managed to knock down a few gangsters with dyed hair. The thugs were lying on the ground and crying in pain. They had fear in their eyes when they looked at the young lady. From the discussions around him, Wang Teng had a basic understanding of what happened. He Monrong encountered these gangsters after she ended her lessons. Finding her quite pretty, they teased her and said some nasty things to her. They thought that Monrong was just a weak and easily bullied lady, but unexpectedly, she was a rose with thorns. She attacked them angrily and beat them until they couldn't get up from the ground. Goddess, he is indeed an advanced stage martial disciple. These gangsters offended the wrong person. A male student beside Wang Teng was waving his fist around feverishly. Even the pimple on his face turned slightly red because of his excitement. From his words, he treated Monrong as his goddess. I've heard that Monrong was a star student, but I didn't expect her to fight so well. Did she learn Taekwondo in the past? Has she achieved the legendary 9th degree black belt? Honestly speaking, it's rare to see such long legs. She's only a high school student, but her figure is already so good. Imagine how she will look in the future. Wang Teng was amazed at Monrong's valiance. Just as he was admiring the beauties in life, he suddenly heard the words, advanced stage martial disciple. The expression on his face froze. He was in a daze. Did I hear wrong? That's right. I just got reborn, so it's normal to be a little absent-minded and mishear things. At this moment, Su Jie leaned over and said with jealousy, we have 5 advanced stage martial disciples in our school. Monrong is the only female, and she comes from a common background to boot. She's really a genius. Wang Teng felt speechless. They were indeed talking about advanced stage martial disciples, he didn't hear wrong. He was reborn in modern society, so why did this interesting profession exist? What was going on? Was he really reborn? Wang Ting sensed the evil intentions of this world. His mind was filled with questions. He Monrong frowned slightly when she noticed the number of people she had attracted. In the end, she ignored the gangsters on the ground and left right away. The people crowding around also dispersed when she left the scene. Wang Tang and Su Jie parted ways at the school gates. Wang Ting found the car that came to fetch him from school as the other students stared at him in envy. He sat in the BMW parked at the side of the road, and it zoomed off. In the car, Wang Tang looked at the scenery flashing past outside. He was deep in thoughts. This was when he noticed that the trees growing along the roadside were exceptionally tall, big, and lush. These plants had too many nutrients. No wonder he felt something different when he was in school just now. The plants in school were exceptionally lush too. However, Wang Teng was immersed in the fact that he was reborn, so he didn't notice it. Everything Wang Teng saw on the road astounded him. The streets were clean and neat, the pedestrian styles seemed ahead of time, and the country's economy was extremely prosperous. It didn't feel like 2009. It didn't feel like 2019 either, the year he was reborn. As expected, there was something different about this world. Wang Ting's mind was in a mess. He saw a pretty lady around 20 years old walking on the streets with a huge and fluffy dog on the leash. There was nothing wrong with this scene, but the dog was just too huge. It was as big as a calf. Wang Ting couldn't help but curse, "What the F***K? What breed is this? Why is it so big?" He took a deep breath to calm his emotions. But then, he was dumbfounded again as he touched his chin. It looks like a golden retriever, but it's too big. He noticed a few more people walking their pets, and all of them were huge. Their sizes exceeded the typical dimensions of the animals. Some parents even let their children ride on the backs of the big dogs. The pet dogs became mounts. He also saw some pet cats with two tails. They were gigantic, too, looking like leopards. However, they were very obedient. Judging from the unsurprised reactions of the passers-by, they weren't treated like wild beasts. Wang Ting felt a little numb. This was definitely not his original world. Even though his classmates and school remained the same, some things were obviously different. The car drove for more than 20 minutes before arriving at the luxurious villa district. Fortunately, his home was still here. He came from a normal wealthy family. Wang Ting's grandfather had 4 children. His father, Wang Xingwu, was the second child. He was a business talent, so he started his own business and built the Xingwu Group. This corporation was second to the corporation Wang Ting's grandfather founded, which was the Rongxing Group. The Xingwu Group and the Rongxing Group were both big businesses worth over 100 million. But, Wang Ting knew that there were many corporations like this in the world. His family might be considered wealthy in this area, but in front of the real global financial institutions, they were just tiny ants. In his past life, the Wang family had offended someone, resulting in the downfall of their business. They only managed to persevere for a few months before their company went bankrupt and closed. The Wang family collapsed and became a thing of the past. It sounded good to have 2 companies each worth more than 100 million. Yet, they were nothing in front of the really influential people. How ironic. Since then, Wang Ting's life took a huge turn. In the next few days, he basically lived a dog's life. He got humiliated and embarrassed all the time until he was reborn. Wait, he might not be reborn. This world had changed drastically, so he didn't know what the Wang family was like now. He wondered if his parents were still his parents. He hoped that when he opened the door, his parents wouldn't have changed. No way. It won't happen. Wang Ting comforted himself hurriedly. He felt agitated, so he took a few deep breaths before he stepped through the doors of the villa. Chapter 2, The Principles of Peaceful Coexistence with the Otherworld. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. In 2009, the villas in this expensive district cost 200,000 RMB per square meter. Wang Ting's family villa was 800 square meters big, and they had paid more than 10 million for it. Including the price of renovation, they spent more than 20 million in total. Upon entering the villa, the first thing visible was the spacious living room. At the moment, 2 maids were cleaning the place. Mother Wang, Li Xiumei, was cooking in the kitchen. Li Xiumei was born in a scholarly family. In university, she was famous because of her talent. However, she wasn't someone who couldn't step into the kitchen. Rather, she was a master at cooking. Wang Tang and his father were full of praises for her. That was why Li Xiumei always cooked personally. She would make the dishes every day and wait for her husband and son to come back to eat. Looking at the hustling figure in the kitchen, Wang Tang could smell the familiar fragrance of the food from here. He stood at the door of the kitchen and opened his mouth several times. After a long while, he finally managed to make a sound. "Mom, I'm back." "You're back." Li Xiumei turned around and smiled as she continued, "Let's wait for a while. Your dad should be back soon too. We can eat together after he returns." "Okay. Let me wash my face." Wang Tang rushed up the stairs instantly and dashed into the bathroom. "What's wrong with this child today?" Li Xiumei shook her head. In the bathroom, Wang Tang turned the tap and splashed cold water on his face. He came back. He never thought that he would still have the chance to return to this family after 10 years. In the past, when the Wang family went downhill, someone conspired against Wang Xingwu and had him murdered. Some time later, Li Xiumei also died of grief. Wang Tang raised his head and wiped his face. He stared at his reflection in the mirror with slightly red eyes. Many things had changed in the past 10 years. Wang Tang changed. He was no longer who he was before. Now, he was able to remain calm and composed when facing different people and matters. But, in the corner of his heart, there were still a few soft spots that he didn't want to touch. Since he was reborn, his heart turned warm again. Wang Ting dried his face and walked out of the bathroom. He then located his bedroom with the help of his memory. The similar arrangements, everything was so familiar. NBA stars posters were pasted on the wall, and there were piles of audio CDs and novels on the bookshelf. The study table was below the window while the bed was next to it. There was a computer on the table. It was a new model of Apple. The bright silver frame was light and trendy. This was another item that didn't fit the timeline. Wang Tang suddenly thought of something when he saw the computer. As expected, he found a cell phone in his bag. However, it wasn't an antique from 2009, it was the latest iPhone 8. He was mentally prepared, though. He entered the passcode and opened his cell phone. Wang Tang felt fortunate that he wasn't good at remembering passwords. He had used the same password for many years without changing it, which became useful now. Food delivery apps, WeChat, Douyin, many apps in his phone belonged to the future. They didn't exist in 2009. When he was reborn, he wanted to use his memories to create a bright future for himself. He would conquer the hearts of future bosses like Jack Ma. Fine, he had no chance now. He sighed and put down his phone. Wang Ting then turned on his computer. There was no fastest method than searching online. Since the computer and cell phone technology was so advanced, it would be unreasonable for the internet to be stuck in 2009. Technology and the internet were inseparable. Wang Tang was a little surprised after he turned his computer on. The operating system wasn't Windows 10. Instead, it was already the 11th generation. So far, the advancement timeline here wasn't the same as in 2019. There were some differences here and there. He had to spend some time before he got familiar with this world. Wang Tang opened the Baidu browser and searched the 2 words, martial warriors. A huge amount of information sprung up. More than an hour later, Wang Tang closed the browser and leaned back on his chair. He was in disbelief. 30 years ago, multiple dimensional rifts appeared in the world. The rifts are linked to an alternate world, Xingwu continent. Force exists in the Xingwu continent. Everyone there can become martial warriors by using this force to cultivate. Martial warriors are formidable. Low-rank martial warriors can break metals, split rocks, and divide a stream of water into two using their blades. High-rank martial warriors can move and destroy mountains, cut the sea into two. This is like a fantasy. Wang Teng was speechless. The scientist on Earth had done some research on the force and discovered that it might be dark matter. But, why were the humans and plants on Xingwu continent able to absorb the dark matter to change their body structure? Why weren't the living creatures on Earth able to do the same? The scientist couldn't find the answer to these questions. After some time, along with the appearance of the dimensional rifts, the Earth started to change. The living creatures on Earth were affected by dark matter. The plants became taller and lusher, and some extinct species reappeared on Earth. Animals started to grow in size too. The special characteristics on their bodies, for instance, scales, claws, and teeth, were enhanced accordingly. Some gifted creatures even managed to mutate and obtain special element ability. As the masters of the Earth, humans also followed suit. Their bodies became stronger. They were able to run faster, jump higher, have more strength, and live longer. 3. The elderlies who were around 70 to 80 years old 30 years ago were still alive. Despite being more than 100 years old now, their physical and mental state remained the same as 30 years ago. Humans went berserk. The different countries disregarded their previous enmity and organized a global conference. 22. In the end, they decided to organize a team to investigate and explore the dimensional rifts. After confirming that they were safe, they sent the army and different specialists into the Xingwu continent. These people were known as the pioneers. Xingwu continent was endless. The pioneers claimed that they came from the other side of the sea and gained the locals' trust. Afterward, they started interacting and trading with them. The people on Earth didn't ruthlessly invade the Xingwu continent. Instead, they adopted the principles of peaceful coexistence and interacted with the locals there amiably. After some time, the pioneers came back with the cultivation methods from Xingwu continent. After some trials and errors, humans on Earth were able to cultivate. The countries came to a common consensus and made the cultivation methods public. Henceforth, it was the dawn of a new martial arts era. This was a huge reform. History took a sharp turn and moved in an unpredictable direction. We have come to the most important part. Please do take note. Humans were powerful because they had intelligence. Through cultivation, the human race quickly grew stronger. Within a few short years, a considerable number of martial warriors started to appear around the world. Some joined the army, while others entered the government. Some belonged to various financial institutions and elite families. All in all, these people formed an alliance. However, a small portion of the civilian martial warriors preferred freedom. They set up various martial arts schools to provide a way for other civilians to start their cultivation. Due to the presence of these martial warriors, humans were able to keep the mutated and powerful wild beasts out of the city. This prevented massive damage and impact on society. However, becoming a martial warrior required talent. It wasn't a path everyone could pursue. If someone wanted to become an official martial warrior, they needed to toughen their body and build a solid foundation. Cultivators at this stage were known as martial disciples. They would only be able to absorb the force and store it in their body if their foundation was strong enough. Then, they would become an official martial warrior. If force was compared to water, the body would be akin to a vessel collecting the water. The process of absorbing the force was the same as pouring water into a vessel. The bigger and sturdier the vessel was, the more water it could hold. The principle of cultivation could be explained simply like this. Based on the martial disciples' strength, speed, and overall ability, they could be classified into 3 categories: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. He Monrome was an advanced stage martial disciple. She was only a step away from becoming a martial warrior. This was the step that stumped many people. There was a stark difference between people who could absorb the Force and those who couldn't. An official martial warrior who was able to cultivate using the Force was able to easily tackle 10 advanced stage martial disciples who couldn't absorb the Force. On the surface, though, only one step separated an advanced stage martial disciple and an official martial warrior. As the saying goes, the poor study while the wealthy learn martial arts. Copious amounts of resources were required to cultivate the martial path. Naturally, they cost money, so ordinary people were at a disadvantage. On the whole, martial warriors only made up a small proportion of humans. Most people were just slightly stronger human beings. But, this didn't stop martial warriors from becoming the mainstream. On the other hand, the rarity of martial warriors and their importance gave them their important status.